All right, let's do this. What are we doing here?
All right, Rudnick thinks that he's probably in trouble because he skipped the driver's meeting. It's okay if I'm cut off. And we jumped him up here. We're doing the driver's meeting. Hi, guys. I know I'm out of frame. And he is now going to tell you, because I know nothing about Rudnick, he's going to give me and the story, or you guys, a story of how he got into cars and where he's from and all this stuff. So tell us your journey into cars.
Wow. I mean, I guess my journey with cars started when I was 15. I started with a YouTube channel called Haggard Garage. And it pretty much started like me and a couple friends just messing around, doing like a couple things, whatever. And we were really into Miatas. My friend, old friend, Orion, he got a Miata. And he started to drift. And I was like, okay, like this is kind of cool. Like, let me get into it. He let me drive it and stuff. And ever since then, fell in love with Miatas. Long story short, Haggard Garage, it just wasn't happening. Money gets the best of people. Sometimes people get greedy. I started my own channel, and then here we are 7 years later. I've been drifting on and off for probably about 7 years, and it's been a fun ride. It's been a sick ride.
You're officially the worst storyteller I've ever heard.
I mean, for me to tell this story, it would have to be 25 minutes, you know?
Yeah, it's 25 minutes. Start telling the story.
Oh my God, I don't even know where to start.
You tell me how you got into car culture. Like, you're so deep into car culture now, it's your full-time gig. This is all you do. You travel around and make car content. What really got you into like cars? It can't be as easy as just like Miata,
literally just with a couple friends just messing around in the garage. Like, we used to do stupid things like when I was younger, I was just working at Subway. I didn't have like a lot of money, so all we cared about before drifting was just like making our cars look cool. We were RICERs, that's what we were. So I didn't have money for my first set of coilovers, so what we did was we took the suspension out of my Civic and we actually drilled out wood blocks, and we took the suspension out of mine and then just put the wood blocks on the struts, and I started dailying that for a while. The thing was absolutely slammed on its nuts. And I was driving to Subway one day because that's where I worked. And while I was on the highway, it was literally like wood brakes, wood brakes, wood brakes, and then I was just nothing but struts just driving down the road. It was pretty ridiculous. And my other friend, we knew that didn't work, so then he tried hockey pucks on his LS400, and that was just an absolute disaster. I don't know if you know this, but if you don't have springs on struts, it's a really rough ride.
Did y'all purposefully like become Haggard on purpose, like the worst modifications possible?
I honestly think we were just dumb, and like we were just like, we didn't care. I mean, I still don't really care. I just like to try things and like to just do dumb things, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, we pay the consequences and we try something else, you know?
And does, like, how do you say, on Drift Week, does that stuff pay off? Like, you've blown a motor on this trip, you had to replace an SR.
Yeah,
there's a lot of consequences that can be quite drastic. You know, it's not just driving around a wood blocks and then you're on struts.
Yeah, I mean, that was years ago. Like, now I'm trying to do things a lot more legit and stuff, especially like this year. Like, my 240, I honestly thought it was like good to go. I brought another engine just because it was an NASR. We were kind of pushing it a little bit. It made 15 PSI. It was making 330 wheel. So I was just like, all right, NASR, skinny rods. We don't know like the longevity of this engine. Let's bring another one, see what happens. Sadly, I ended up getting rod knock. I had some trigger errors that we're still trying to figure out to this day, and it might blow up again. But all we can do is keep trying, and we swapped that engine in one night. It's pretty intense, to be honest, but we made it happen.
Take me back to Haggard Garage. How many years did that last?
And of course, Drift Week has the best sponsors such as BC Racing Custom Coilovers, Vape Tasia, Heatwave Visual, NK Wheels, WhatMonstersDo.com. Use the discount code EBISU. And of course, ECU Master for building the James Dean car and coming on this trip with us. Thank you, everyone.
Probably two. It was crazy because, like I said, it literally started with us goofing around. We had 1,000 subs, and like people just saw us. They got a connection to us, and like we went from like 1,000 to 5,000 to 20,000 to 100,000 in like a month and a half, 2 months. And at 100,000, my friend that owned the channel, we never knew the channel was making money. And he was just like, oh yeah, like we're just doing this for fun and stuff. But he kept like buying stuff and buying stuff. I'm like, how you doing this on a Goodwill salary? Because he worked at Goodwill. He's like, oh yeah, my mom's letting me borrow money. And over time, I kind of just like saw the person he was becoming, and like I saw like he had his own incentive in life and wanted to do things. So I'm like, this is cool. I'm having a lot of fun, but I can see that people like me as a person. I'm gonna start my own YouTube channel and see where it goes. I kind of just closed tabs with them, started my own thing, and I think I ended up getting 20,000 subscribers within probably a month. And then at 20,000 subscribers, I was so excited. I wanted like to do something like big for my channel. And everyone that was on my channel, I wanted people to do burnouts. So I do a burnout of my car, my other friend, whatever. And I had my buddy Will. He was 14 at the time. He didn't have a license. He didn't have a car, obviously. So at this time, I was making a decent amount of money, wheeling, dealing cars. I love flipping cars. And I bought this Acura for $150. And I was like, Will, I know you don't have a car. This isn't registered or insured, but like, let's go take this up to a dead end road. Like, you can just rip this thing, like have some fun. So we go to the dead end road. Obviously, it's front wheel drive. So we put cinder blocks behind the back wheels. And I'm like, all right, dude, let her rip. The cinder blocks move with the car, so it didn't work. And then we parked the car up to a tree. And I was like, the tree was here, and then there was like dirt with a bunch of pine needles. Not a good idea, but I was dumb, and he didn't know any better, obviously. So we park it up to the tree, and then he just starts laying this burnout on the pine needles, probably for like a minute. I'm just egging him on, like, go, go, go. And after a minute, he gets out. I'm all excited, pumped up, so I get in the car, do a burnout as well for a minute. And then after that, the car ended up getting stuck in the dirt, and we couldn't get it out, and it was leaking oil. So the oil leaked onto the pine needles in the woods on this dead-end road, and it started a huge car fire. And not registered, not insured. We're like hiding in the woods trying to figure out what to do and stuff. And I'm like, I gotta call the cops. Like, if I don't call the cops, we're gonna burn this whole forest down. So call the cops come, and they're like, hey, what happened? And I turned 18 a week before this. So like, they wanted to throw the book at me, and they're like, hey, trying to be my friend. And I tried just telling them that I was texting and driving. I accidentally hit the tree. Obviously didn't work. Long story short, I ended up telling them the story, told them I was a YouTuber, told them that I had a video of it, and they instantly arrested me, threw me in the back. I went to jail. I got 200 hours of community service. I got a couple of charges, and it was brutal. That's one of a Haggard Garage story. That's one of them. There's many of them.
What'd you learn from Haggard Garage? Was it any big lessons of like automotive stuff? Did you get better at cars? Did y'all do anything useful, or was it just like kids screwing around? Because one of the things I can say real quickly to lead this off is these big YouTube channels are incredibly influential, more than you think, and kids go out and copy you. And
yeah,
like,
I agree with that.
Coming out here and being a part of like Drift Week, or just being a part of any of the other events you go to, and like being in the drifting culture, if you teach people badly, they copy. And they get burnt out fast because they break their cars, or they go put it on wood, like, you know, destroy the struts or whatever, and they don't have a good time. And you're not like an average person. You can go through this and you think it's funny, but most people, like, I'm sure you've seen people just get ruined in the stance scene or drift scene and everything. And I was gonna say, when I didn't pay much attention to Haggard Garage back in the day, but I think that a lot of people probably ran themselves out of car, poorly modifying them, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
And do you feel any responsibility for that? Did you learn anything through that time period? Because you guys were extremely influential, just like Adam is now. People literally copy Adam's bash bar on his 350Z with the wheel color. I'm sure you've seen that. Kids now run around with a bash bar on a 350Z with no front bumper, with like Cosmos wheels that are gold, and that's a style. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, at the time of Haggard Garage, obviously we were just a bunch of kids just like playing around. Like, I remember when Haggard Garage first started, like, it was just us with a camera just messing around, like didn't care about views, didn't care about anything, like we were just having a good time. I didn't even know how to take a throttle body off my own car. And what I think was good about us is we never like tried to hide any of the bullshit. Like, we always just like, if we didn't know what we were doing, we genuinely said, I don't know what we're doing, you know? Like, we never tried to like act like someone we weren't, and I still don't do that to this day. Now, like, I think I did learn a lot, because I do appreciate the following that I have, and I have gotten like a lot better. And to this day, I'm constantly evolving my cars to make them look better, to make them function better. And even on this trip, like, I'm learning so much. Like,
the fact that 7 years ago I couldn't take a throttle body off, but now I can do a whole engine swap in an Airbnb with a couple Harbor Freight tools, I mean, that says something. And I think that's also a good thing for people to watch, because they're like, okay, if this guy can do it at an Airbnb with a couple tools, why can't I? You know, so I mean, I agree with you. What we were doing in the past, maybe it was like a little wrong. I don't think it was wrong because we didn't know what we were doing, but I think I'm evolving to something that people can be stoked about.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a difference between education and entertainment and all these different things, and I don't think it's wrong for you to entertain people.
Yeah, I'm definitely more of an entertainer than I am a teacher. I don't teach.
I was going to say it's dangerous, though. I'm sure you guys saw a lot of people copy you in styles with the Haggard Garage stuff, and you're like, oh, you dumb kids, don't do that.
Yeah, some people for sure.
Yeah.
But like other cool things, like I grew up just doing Miatas, so I actually learned from a different YouTube channel, the Car Passion channel. Shout out to you, Greg. And I kind of copied him and then kind of showed my side of the story. And like back in the day, we used those FMUs and we put like a 10-to-1 disc in it, so like make it super rich. And like, it's just where I came from, and I think it has like a good story from like, okay, this kid started from wood blocks to here he is now. If anything, I think it's motivation for people to just get out and do it, no matter what skill level you're at or anything, you know? I mean, anything is possible.
Mm-hmm. So were you guys into drifting back in the Haggard Garage days, or were you just into like making cars fun, you know, stancy, lowering them, just modifying them for no reason kind of thing?
At first, I was just kind of into just lowering cars, just having a good time. Honestly, when I first started, all I cared about was dragging frame on the ground. Like if my car wasn't shooting sparks on a flat road, then I was not happy. But then once again, my friend Orion, he had that Miata. He brought me to some high school, and we were just like blowing some donuts, having a good time. I'm like, oh, this is like pretty cool. I ended up getting a Miata. I got completely screwed on it, but I actually have that car to this day. And I started drifting at NA. My first drift event, actually, I snuck into because I didn't have enough money. So I snuck into that drift event, and that kind of was like, oh shit, like this is like really cool. And ever since then, like, I was going to junkyards, just picking out tires, like anything, like even if it was like corded, as long as it was my tire size, that's what I was running. And like, I feel the dedication to that, and like street driving my car from Connecticut to New Jersey, which on a subway salary at that time is a pretty risky move, with a FMU turbo kit with a hood dump with no hood. Driving it all the way to Englishtown, blowing up my car, having my friend drive me all the way home to grab tools and grab a couple things to drive to Englishtown the next day. Like, all of this is documented, and like all of that is what evolved me to what I am doing today.
What was the biggest thing you learned from like the Haggard Garage days? Did you learn much automotive stuff, or?
Did I learn automotive stuff during Haggard?
Yeah. No?
No, definitely
not. Really? Interesting.
I actually learned a lot from when I met a friend, or my old friend now, Tommy. I bought a blower motor for my 240 from him off Facebook. And at this time, I had no shop, I had no nothing. I was literally just working on the side of the road, just like trying to figure out things. And I was making daily content at this point for probably a couple years, like every single day, like Monday through Sunday. Every day I had to get a video. Like, I was a daily vlogger for 4 or 5 years. And I went to go to his shop. We talked for a little bit, just a grungy place. And he was like, you need some space? And I'm like, oh my God, like my first shop. Like, I didn't care what it looked like. It had no heat. The ground was all messed up. But I was just like, this is sick. Like, oh, this is my first shop. So ended up moving with him. He was doing like a bunch of part outs and stuff. And he always had like cool ideas. And he kind of, it took me under his wing, I guess you can say, and he helped me. Honestly, he helped me a lot evolve in like building things correctly, and kind of making me see like a bigger picture, and like making me see like, hey, you don't need to be slammed on the ground. Like, that's not cool. Like, you should be building something that you can actually use, and like it's functionable. Like, I bought my first like actual drift car from him. It was a LS1 E36, and like that thing was, it had SLR control arms, BC coilovers, like the full cage. Like, the thing was a monster, and I learned a lot from that. Mm-hmm. So he was probably my influence of teaching me. Haggard was just a shit show, to be honest.
And in your early days, did you ever make cars better? Or did you only, like, at what point did you start making cars better? Like, when did you start thinking about, like, because normally when a person modifies a car, they think they're making it better. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But I think most of the time, early on, people make them worse for various reasons before they realize that. Did you ever, like, come to that conclusion of, like, I'm going to make a car better and then start doing it?
It really depends, like, who you ask. Like, if you ask me now, I'll tell you 100 different ways of why I did that wrong or how I could have done that differently. But at the time, having an NA Miata that makes, I don't know, 90 horsepower and getting one of your buddies to make you a custom manifold and getting an FMU from eBay and putting a TD04 from a WRX and cobbing it together into this Miata to make 12 pounds of boost and going from 90 horsepower to 180, like, I would say that made it better, and that evolved me as a driver, and it also evolved me as a mechanic because, like, I learned how to do those things. Whether it was wrong or right, I was still getting that wrench time. I was still kind of understanding things, learning metric sizes, whatever I was doing. You know what I mean? And it just depends.
Well, like from the wood days of, wood in your suspension.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. That was dumb. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, there's no denying that was.
How long did it take you to transition into making cars better? Is what I'm saying.
I guess not too long. I mean,
Not too long?
from the slammed Civic with wood blocks to the Turbo Miata, we're talking 3.5 months, 4 months.
Oh, so you went pretty fast.
Yeah, like so. Ever since I was 15, my whole life has been on like YouTube. I've never really been a normal human. Like I've literally from the second I was like in 11th grade to now, like I've always been in the public eye. So I'm like constantly learning. And when I first started my YouTube channel, obviously as a dumb kid that went from working at Subway to making a couple $1,000s a month off just making some videos, you don't know any better. You're just trying to go out there, you're trying to have fun. Like you've seen what your friends do, you want to try to do that, you want to try to do better, you just, and like it's just a snowball effect, and like my life constantly got faster and faster and it's never slowed down.
Okay. Do you ever think about the fact that you're an influencer now and that you actually, like, kids build cars to replicate yours or like you're their idol and things like that?
I'm definitely getting better at that for sure.
Does it change your like outlook on life, and do you become more of like a positive influence on people, or do you remain like your character that's like an entertainer?
I will never hide my mistakes. I feel like, I mean, there's so many YouTubers, I'm not going to name names, but there's just so many YouTubers that just like, if they mess up, they're like, oh, we're not going to show this for a good reason. We're not going to show this because this doesn't look good for us or whatever. And I don't knock that whatsoever, but me and my YouTube and what I'm about is like, I'm always going to be real with people, and I always just want to show like, if I mess up and it was something stupid, like that's life, like people mess up, people make mistakes. And I don't see, I'm not that person to hide things, I'm going to tell the story how it is. If I'm not happy, I'm going to tell you I'm unhappy. If I blew up an engine because I forgot to put oil in it, which I have done before, I'm going to tell you that I didn't put oil in it and I'm an asshole, like it's just that that's what, I'll always do that. But I am doing things better, and I research a lot more, and like I kind of plan things out a lot. For the longest time, I would just kind of just go day by day by day, like, okay, we're doing this today, that didn't work out, so we do this, and I'd be jumping between 7 projects, and it was just a nightmare. But now I'm to the point where it's like, okay, let's take a step back, let's kind of see what we have and everything, and like, what does this car need, how much money, how much does this need? If we store this car in the corner and we put $10,000 worth of parts here, then over the course of 3 months, this car can be a series in 2 weeks, and it can be something sick. And people are going to be stoked that I got this car. 3 weeks later, we're making 500 horsepower doing burnouts down the road. So now I'm thinking more about the future than kind of just like, oh, we need to get a video, or oh, we need to do this. I'm not like scrambled as much as I used to be.
When I say you're an influencer and stuff, if you pick to do like, say, an SR car and you tell people to build SR cars, then you build it with a giant turbo, and like, I'm sure you've put together some cars that when you're done, you're like, man, this is not the best car ever. You're like, I don't enjoy this as much as my E36 with the V8, or, was that your best car? What was your best car, by the way?
I've had an LS3 E36, that was a lot of fun. The LS1 E36 was sick. Honestly, my favorite car was probably my Unos Roadster. It was my first import from Japan. It had a S13 SR20 in it, made about 420 wheel. I got my first 10.9 on the quarter mile with it, drifted it a few times, and it was just it was a machine. SR is one of my favorite engines, for sure.
But as we modify cars and like choose things, a lot of people copy, and you could tell them something like, how do I say this? Think about how many people are getting into car culture and they think they need to do certain things to have, you know, cool cars or build something or whatever they're doing. And they get themselves into something they don't need to be in and they don't enjoy. Kind of like Jimmy's out there in a 350Z turning 1 million laps, but people think that they're very boring cars.
Yeah.
But you had an SR car and you blew the engine and you might blow a couple more and you struggle with it. Your SRs could be more expensive now if you're buying them than an entire car.
Way more expensive.
You know what I mean? So if somebody copies a certain type of style or anything else, it could be detrimental to your people watching, if that makes sense.
I mean, at the end of the day, like, people need to take what they see on the internet with like a grain of salt, you know? Like, people shouldn't watch someone and like, I'm gonna build that to that, you know? Like, you should obviously do your own research, you should do your own thing and like, watch multiple people and like, okay, Rudnick's doing it this way, but Adam LZ's doing it this way, Jimmy's doing it that way, let me kind of put it all together and make my own thing, you know?
But I mean, you've been around cars a lot. I'm sure you've seen a lot of people get into projects that they can't afford to run or even finish.
I mean, even me. I mean, I'm in 8 projects right now, and two or three of them, I'm like, oh my God, like I'm deep. Like, I mean, it's easy to take something apart and have this vision, but it's a whole nother level to actually get it back and manage it right and put money aside for it and everything. It's a whole nother level.
Yeah.
So I agree with that.
Let's jump and look at this as levels. Say like there's a person underneath you that's a random person that's just a YouTube viewer. There's Chris Rudnick above him, 50% of the way up, and there's like Adam LZ above him. Do you ever get influenced by Adam and you're trying to copy? Like you see how expensive his builds are and stuff, and you get in over your skis and like too far because like, you know what I mean? He's influencing you to do something and copy his style because it works so well. And then the people underneath you, I'm sure you see people like that. Have you met Coy on this trip? He's YouTubing and he's attempting to build a 3-rotor RX-7 Veil side kit, which is like a $40,000 body kit RX-7 to be his YouTube thing. So there's a lot of people that are thinking that building a specific car or doing something to get the audience on YouTube or, you know, just to get, you know, like flex culture or something. It's wild. Yeah, no, it's definitely wild. But going back to... Oh, you getting influenced by Adam?
Yeah, no 100%. Like, I was influenced by just Adam. Like, when he first built that Cream Z for that giveaway and stuff, I'm like, oh crap, like these are like pretty reliable. And ever since like watching that little series, I was like, I always was interested in a 350, 370Z. So when I had the opportunity to jump on mine, which kind of wish I brought my 370Z to Drift Week because I probably wouldn't have blown my engine. But I just finished building the S14. I did Drift Week 5 and I was just like, I want something different. I don't want to bring the Z that trip and bring the Z this trip. Like, I wanted to kind of venture off, get a little out of my comfort zone and just kind of say, screw it, whatever happens, happens. But as far as Zs go, they're probably way more reliable, I would say.
Was that 370Z a better drift car than your S14? Which is better? Which would have been more enjoyable for this trip?
I mean, the Z definitely would have been more enjoyable, but I like the SR because I'm more of a turbo person. I like to like really dance with the pedals. I like to clutch kick. I like to do all of those things. And it's the 240 is more fun of a car. The 370 is more of a just get in seat time car, like have your fun, you know.
The SR lets you dance with the tools, not just the pedals. Exactly.
It lets you dance with everything. It really makes your brain start going.
Do you think about, like, if I bring the SR car and it breaks, I'll have more content as well? Do you think about that kind of stuff?
I don't really think about that, but it helps when something does break to not get as discouraged about it, because I'm like, all right, like, this sucks. We're going to be miserable for this day putting this engine in, but at the very least, at least we get a video out of it. We can recoup some money so we can put it towards another engine or maybe rebuilding the other engine and stuff. Because now I'm thinking about stuff like that. Like, okay, if this video I blew up this car, that revenue to that money could lead to either building this or putting more money into that project and seeing where that goes. That's kind of how I'm doing things now.
Okay. And is there much of a future in this, do you think? Do you think you can make it to Adam scale? Do you think, like, or is that just like something completely off the, or it doesn't have to be Adam, TJ Hunt, or any of these guys?
Honestly, I'm venturing off like a couple different things. I got a couple plans in the near future that I'm like trying to do. And to be honest, like, I've been doing YouTube so long and I'll forever do it, but I'm just living life, you know. I'm not like banking on anything. I don't expect anything. I'm just here to have fun and just go with the flow.
How long have you been doing YouTube
It's like
now?
7 years.
And has it been constantly been going up for you? Or at some points has it like plateaued recently?
Yeah, no, it's definitely plateaued. Like, because when I left Haggard, it went from like 0, honestly, probably to 180K, like really, really fast. And then from like 180K to like 300, I would say, was like, okay, that took like a couple years. 300K to 400K took a couple years, and now we're at 466,658, I think I checked this morning.
Yeah, but you don't check, so it's okay.
I do check.
You don't pay attention to that.
I do pay attention. But yeah, no, it's definitely slowed down a lot, and I'm trying to now better myself and do things to a certain criteria. And just trying to come out with better builds instead of just throwing something together.
But with it plateauing and stuff, does that like kind of beat you down mentally? Do you see your ad revenue go down? Do you like?
No, as far as ad revenue, it stays pretty consistent. I mean, I definitely took a hit a few years back because I just stopped daily vlogging. It was taking like, I don't know if you've ever tried to make 7 videos a week, but
I've done about 50 in a row per day,
Yeah.
and then I burn out and I can't post for 60 days.
Yeah, no,
I take months off at a time.
Yeah, no, I did it for about 3 years straight.
That's crazy.
So it's definitely a mental thing, and like as a YouTuber, like it's a whole lifestyle. It's a dedication. Like my whole life is eat, sleep, YouTube. I wake up, I'm at the shop, I'm making a video for 10 hours, I'm going home. I mean, I have an editor now, which I'm super thankful for, but I would go home, I would edit the video, and then I would lay in bed and just be like, okay, what are we doing tomorrow? How are we gonna do this? How can we get better? Or how is this car gonna work? Like, your brain never shuts off, ever, as a YouTuber. And if it does shut off, you don't have what it takes. Like, just to be that, because you have to constantly be going.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, I'll let you go in one more question to go drive. Is there anything you want to talk about or anything? Anything you're passionate about? Like, I've just been asking things, and I don't know a lot about you, so I don't know the best things to ask. I'm just kind of like asking little tidbits. What are you passionate about?
Honestly, I've over like since the last drift week, it's really opened my eyes, and I got my Z last, I think it was last November. Actually, just right around this time, I bought the Z. We built it in a month. And then we had that Drift Week 5, and I learned so much from that. And from there, I got into sim drifting, and I bought like a whole Sim Magic kit, and like I've been using that every single night. And I'm talking to a couple buddies in New Zealand. I want to go out to New Zealand, drive with them. I'm talking to my buddy Sam it, he's got a YouTube. I want to go drive Ebisu with him. I'm really trying to pursue drifting a lot just because it's something that makes me happy. It's something that I can constantly focus on. My main passion used to be BMX, but I kind of got into a pretty bad accident. I shattered this ankle. I have to wear this brace at all times. I tore my ACL, MCL, patella tendon, and meniscus in this knee, and I broke this wrist all in one hit.
Oh my God.
Couldn't walk for 3 months.
Good thing you quit.
Oh, I kind of have to quit because my ankle is really bad.
When you said you learned a bunch from Drift Week, what did you specifically learn?
Tandems, like, it takes a lot for me to like go out and like start driving with people just because like I never care about my own car, but I care about other people's car. And like I understand it's like the sport of like if something happens, like it is what it is, but I never want to be that person. So it's really hard for me to kind of break that shell to like get out and start driving with people. But the Drift Week 5, it was like so relaxed, and it was like so like everyone was just like so down to do everything. It was like hard. It was almost impossible not to tandem because everyone was just going and having a good time. And from that, I did crash a decent amount, but I learned a lot, and like I definitely got a lot out of my comfort zone. And after that, I ended up going to Australia to visit Luke Fink. I stayed there for 2 months. But I entered his drift comp, and that was my first tandem comp ever. I got second place.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And is your like YouTubing life now going to revolve around drifting, not just car modifying? Like, is drifting getting that deep into you? It sounds like you're playing sim every night. Like, you're getting super into it. You have something to focus on.
I mean, that's not really the goal. My goal has always just been, like, obviously I'm pursuing drifting and stuff, and whatever I'm doing, that's going to be my videos. I'm not really thinking like, okay, guys, this is a drift channel now. I haven't really thought about that, but I mean, really, whatever happens, happens. I really just want to. I'm trying to find a fun balance, because obviously every YouTuber drifts. So it's like, you got the top of the food chain, Adam LZ, he's drifting, right? Formula D, sick driver, super fun to watch that dude drive. Everyone loves it. And then you got TJ Hunt, little lower than Adam, whatever. He's a good driver, I'm still down to watch him. And then let's just skip a couple levels, and you got Jimmy. All right, I already watched Adam, I already watched TJ, I guess I'll watch Jimmy. And then you have me, and you're like, okay, I watched Adam, I watched TJ, I watched Jimmy, now Rudnick's drifting, now this guy's drifting. Like, I feel like every automotive YouTuber is trying to drift and trying to make a drifting channel, which is cool. I mean, everyone likes what they like, but as far as a viewership, like, it can start to get a little stale. So me, I want to do drifting, I want to do drifting videos, but I also want to bring like my side of the things. Like, I like to party, I like to have fun, like to goof around with friends, do challenges. So it's like, sure, I'm gonna be a drifting channel, but the shenanigans are just as fun as the drifting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it's almost more of a Chris channel than it is a drifting channel. Like,
for sure, yeah.
People are there for you.
Yeah, for sure.
I didn't think about Adam and all those guys being drifting channels necessarily. I was thinking about them as like people. Do you think drifters watch their channels for drifting, or do you think people watch their channels for like them?
I didn't necessarily like mean they were drifting channels. I was just necessarily saying like.
No, I like that concept. I didn't think of it that way. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is,
I'm learning.
Since everyone's doing drifting, it's like, what can you, Aaron, bring to the table? Because obviously you like drifting. You bring drifting to YouTube. Like, what can you do to make your drifting interesting compared to Adam LZ that everyone already loves and stuff? You know.
I can't do anything to battle Adam.
Well, you got to figure that out.
I'm the grassroots guy that just like hosts events and creates experiences and like takes people around the world, and like you come on Drift Week, you're on my thing, and like my YouTube channel is not my main thing.
Yeah, it's more for fun, and it's and I understand that completely.
So I was gonna say, I'm never gonna be good at it, I think.
Yeah.
And it's just so that I can continue hosting events and continue being around people, and like I just was at the LZ festival, and like I'm always doing like,
Exactly, and you won last year. Right?
Oh yeah, that was the invitational, yeah.
Yeah,
oh,
congratulations. Yeah, I had a family emergency.
Yeah, I remember what that was.
Yeah.
We all got tested for that family emergency.
Yeah. But what was I gonna say? Fuck.
It's a stepsister emergency.
Dang it, I had something good to say and I completely forgot. Oh, drifting, yeah. What I feel like I bring to the table, like, I feel like everyone thinks of me as like the underdog because of my past, and like you said, like, oh, Haggard Garage, like people know me as like, oh, this janky guy, like doesn't know anything, like, so I can be perceived as the underdog for fair reasons, and what I can bring is like, can the underdog make it to the top with the big dogs, Adam LZ, all of that stuff. I'm currently, I don't know if you know Nils, he has a fabrication shop in Connecticut, he builds roll cages. Shout out to you, Nils. He's currently building me an E46 2J car to make around 700 horsepower, and just like a full competition car, just so I can like try out clutch kickers and I can try to get comfortable with stuff like that. And I'm going to New Zealand, which I don't want to talk about too much, but we're going to go do something there, and that's going to be a little competition thing. And I know Luke's always down to have me in Australia, and you know Luke's an amazing driver, so it's like to learn and be in his environment is huge, and like you can learn things with him that it'll take someone alone a year to learn, and I can learn in a couple days just by driving with him, watching what he does, and him kind of telling me what to do.
This does really sound like your life's revolving around drifting, though.
Sure. Yeah, it kind of does.
Sounds like you're very passionate about it. Drifting kind of consumes people's lives and like burns everything away, and it gives you something to focus on.
Oh, and it spends all your money too. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm comfortable. I make very good money, but I dedicate and I spend every dollar that I make on my YouTube channel. Every single dollar I spend on my YouTube channel to keep it going.
You're like, it just happens to be that I'm enjoying myself.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong, like that's not like
alcohol and food and
that's,
drifting for me.
That's not me complaining in any means.
Yeah.
I love my life, I love what I do, but I don't got like this serious bank account of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, can't wait till this YouTube's gig's over and I can just go F off, you know? But yeah, I'm fully dedicated to the YouTube thing, and I love drifting, and I love doing what I'm doing.
So what I hear is you're going to be competing in like super competition level drift cars within the next 6 to 12 months, and that's what you're looking forward to. And
That would be cool. Like me hearing that out loud absolutely scares the hell out of me.
So you're 2019 to 2021 Adam LZ following in his footsteps.
I guess everyone has their influencer, huh?
I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I was going to say. I was going back to that concept of like, you know, you're influencing the random guy on the street that's not a YouTuber.
It's a domino effect.
Right, and then you're being influenced by a larger influencer than you. That's so crazy.
It's funny you bring this up because me and Luke, like, I don't remember where it was, maybe a couple weeks ago, we had a conversation of like, it's crazy like the influence like we have as people, like, Luke bought like a 20-something whatever Ford Raptor, and he said he got a bunch of DMs like, bro, I bought a Raptor because you, like, this is so sick. He's like, people are spending $50,000, $70,000 on trucks because I bought one and said I liked it. Like, this is insane. Yeah. And like he even said, he was like, I got my 370Z because I was watching Adam LZ. I saw how good his Z was, so I was like, oh, that's a reliable seat-time car. I'm gonna get it too. So like, even like someone like Luke Fink, like Adam can influence Luke Fink. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. A crazy domino effect.
TJ Hunt, I built a 370Z for Adam to get him into that stuff because he was building other stuff. I think this is before his Cream Z even and everything. And TJ Hunt called me up and was like, I need all the specs off that 370Z y'all did, and then like replicated the car. And I'm like, that's weird.
Yeah, it's crazy. So you influenced him.
Sai and I were in Japan, and somebody cosplayed my Ebisu car and built an Ebisu car down to the wheels, the shift knob, the color of everything. They had to import the coilovers from America to get the coilovers over there. Remember that, Sai? It was crazy. And like you realize that you can accidentally, that's what I was going with earlier, you can accidentally influence someone to like replicate your entire car. I'm sure
if it's not good.
Yeah, even if it's not good.
Yeah, I can see that. But once again, people should, which they won't, take things with a grain of salt and like not just.
No one takes things with a grain of salt.
No, the internet's a crazy place. It's to say the least.
People will be like, you saw that car on Top Gear, it's faster than that one. They said that one's trash. And you're like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, well, thank you so much for your time. I really enjoy getting to know everyone better. I haven't talked to you very much on the trips yet, so I just ask questions and get to know you. I apologize if I didn't have like deep enough questions or like I talked too much about Haggard Garage because it seems like it touched you somewhere. And
no, I mean, I just haven't talked about it in a while, so it was like kind of, I had to like scatter all of the memories together. And like, I can really go deep, and I can talk for hours about it, but I was just trying to kind of sugarcoat things a little bit.
No, things are good. I like all this stuff. I'm learning about it. I never really watched YouTube back in those days. I just heard about it, and I remember Haggard Garage was very influential, 7 or 10 years ago.
It was crazy. And it was.
As an event host, you see what I'm doing with like Drift Week. If someone brings an unprepared car, I'm like, oh my God, this is my problem now. So when Haggard Garage was making videos, people would bring out Miatas that were, like dead or, all these things. And they would think something's cool. And I don't want to call them out, but Sai knows what I'm talking about. We had some kids with Miatas that were so low, they couldn't control them, and they would drive into the barriers and total them. Sai, do you agree?
Multiple cars total each other. Yeah, we had multiple cars that just totaled because it was terrible.
Yeah, they would literally just not be able to control the cars and drive into something 100 yards away from them and crash into other cars, and they had zero control over their cars. And
that's why I'm getting interrogated. No.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying.
It's my fault. No.
You guys have real control over the situation.
For sure.
Just like we now have, like I said, cosplay Adam LZ 350Z cars. I'm sure you've seen that stuff a lot. So you guys have to, I don't want to say like be responsible for everyone around you, but there could be a bunch of kids trying to have whistle and diesel channels and like murdering themselves with blocks of wood in the back of pickup.
Yeah, but I mean, all of that comes with like age and experience, obviously. Like to throw a 15-year-old a camera with 100,000 viewers probably isn't the safest thing, and like it never will be, because like you go from a person that is just going to high school, working a full-time job, making sandwiches, to now 100,000 people seeing them learn on the internet. I was never thinking about when I was in Haggard, like, oh, these people are going to copy what I'm doing. I was just doing what I was doing, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, you can say, like, I may or may not be responsible, but I was learning with everyone else, you know? I was trial and erroring. I just so happened to be in the public eye.
Yeah, I think you're always going to end up with that problem too. Everybody is a new human growing up and goes through the same mistakes and everything. And all these people were never built for fame. They didn't have the responsibility, so you're completely right about that.
No, I've definitely made a ton of mistakes in my life, for sure.
I was going to say, you're almost at a huge loss now that you're going to, I mean, I wouldn't call you responsible at all, but you're completely, I mean, you just ate a fucking chip that like almost killed you guys.
That was all for content.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you guys are at a loss almost against these new 15-year-old kids coming up, because they can do anything and they have no responsibility.
I know.
And they could just go on TikTok, or like they could do anything, and you guys can't even.
Honestly, the internet nowadays is just so ridiculous.
I know, it's so hype, crazy culture. I've never been on TikTok, believe it or not.
No, I don't go on TikTok. I don't go through Instagram. Like, it's kind of funny. I'm such a big social media person in like the eyes, but I'm not a social media person. I don't go on Instagram. I don't go on Facebook. I don't go on anything. I film videos. I do my fun. I do my YouTube, and I don't do anything else. I don't even really watch YouTube videos. I just do YouTube, and then I do my own thing. Because like, as being an influencer for so long, like, why am I gonna watch someone else's life when I'm trying to focus on my own? Does that make sense?
That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're done. How bad did that chip treat you?
Oh, dude.
Was it bad?
I mean, did you see my eyes?
Are you hallucinating?
Look at his eyes.
His
Look
eyes
at
are
him.
tweaking.
Oh my god. Dude, I'm not okay. I'm not.
Yeah.
I looked like I got bit by a zombie, and like I was turning.
Did it mess you up for like a whole day or two, or just like an hour?
So I didn't know this was gonna happen, but
They
as
did
soon
a
as
spicy
we were
chip challenge, by the way, guys. One chip and it messed them up real bad.
coming out Saturday. But as soon as we did it, we left. We were like, okay, yeah, let's go. I'm like, oh, how far is the Airbnb? Oh, 2 hours. I'm like, 2 hours? My front tires are corded. My alignment, the wheels going like this, going down the road. And like 30 minutes in, I'm like, oh, this isn't good. I had the worst. Honestly, I thought I was gonna have to drive to the hospital. It hurt so bad. Like, it felt like someone like grabbed your stomach and like threw a bunch of rubber bands over it. I had to pull over and like lay down at a gas station. Like for like
poop yourself.
For like 20, I tried to poop, I couldn't yet. And that was the worst, because it was just stuck in here for multiple hours, and then the next morning it ended up coming out, which it was a little hot, but it wasn't as nearly as hot as my mouth.
Good story. That's some classy content.
Yeah,
All right, thank you so
coming
much.
soon.
Go drive.
Of course. Yeah.
Go drive. Boom.
My car's still broken. Oh.
Perfect. Oh, the car's still broken.
Yeah, car's still broken.